It's a familiar sight. For the third time in 3 consecutive years, the Houston Texans are hosting the New England Patriots. The Texans have won their last 2 matchups in 2019 and 2020 and hoping that history repeats itself as 2 rookie quarterbacks take center stage in this Week 5 matchup. Mac Jones and Davis Mills both looking to bounce back after losses last week. Lonnie Johnson had his first career interception against Bills quarterback Josh Allen. He hopes to get another one against Mac Jones today. The offensive line will have a different starting 5 today. We'll get into all that, plus more of today's top stories. You've got questions, we've got answers. Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon, starts now.
We are ready to rock in Houston.
Touchdown, Houston!
Are you kidding? What a catch. Oh, baby.
Y'all know what time it is? It's time to get activated.
Welcome into Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. It's Pink Ribbon Day, presented by Kroger. We're so happy you can join us for this Week 5 matchup. Patriots and Texans, some familiarity, a lot of reunions. Several former Patriots on the Texans team not playing today.
Yeah.
A lot of Patriots banged up. We got O-line injuries on both sides of the ball. A lot to get into and a lot to unpack as both teams are 1-3 and try to get another win today. Welcome in, Drew.
Thank you very much, Deepa. You know, these two teams, since the start of the 2009 season, they've met every single year, sometimes twice a year if you include the playoffs, except for 2010, 11, and 14. Other than that, you see them every year, and it's wild how many connections that you share. Now, you mentioned a few of those guys that you're not going to see. No Danny Amendola. Marcus Cannon, the right tackle, is on IR, so you're not going to see him for the next 3 games at minimum. But lots and lots of connections all the way up through the front office for this Texans and Patriots matchup, and we got a lot to get into, don't we?
Yeah, we do, certainly. And Charlie Heck will get his first start
Yes,
at right
he will.
tackle.
Yeah.
And the Patriots without their right tackle, Trent Brown, he was on IR. No Shaq Mason, he's inactive.
Yep.
But we'll get into all that. But let's get into some of your top stories of the week. Davis Mills looking to bounce back after that 40-0 loss at Buffalo last week. He threw 4 interceptions. He said that David Culley has had quite a few conversations and one-on-ones with him this week.
He's been great, just constantly giving me confidence, kind of telling me that there's a reason they brought me here to Houston and they're looking forward to my potential. I just got to continue to learn from what I've been doing out on the field and grow from it. And like I said, I was talking about some of the stuff, protecting the football, playing winning football. Can't kind of shoot yourself in the foot and still win games. So just limiting the risk of the game and try to, as a quarterback, put my team in the position to win the game.
Mac Jones is currently leading all rookies with a 70% completion rate and 112 completions on the season so far. Justin Reed says a big part of the defensive game plan will be to limit the short passing game today.
Just keeping in mind that they have a rookie quarterback as well, you know what I mean? So I'm sure they want to make quick throws, keep his confidence level high. He did a tremendous job, in my opinion, against the Buccaneers, the game that they came off of. So that game is just digging dunks. I don't think will kill you. And there's some trap plays that you could set up for that too, you know what I mean, if that's what they want to do the entire game. But I don't think that those plays kill you. You just got to be disciplined for when the real opportunities come.
The Texans linebacking core got a few players back this week. Kevin Pierre-Louis was designated for return off IR. He was able to practice throughout the week. And Zach Cunningham was on the reserve COVID list. He was taken off of that. He's back in the lineup today. And Lovie Smith said he's going to try to get all the linebackers into the mix.
We like options at all positions. I'm going to start with that. We just talked about the D-line and how. And the first time we talked about playing a lot of people. Getting a good football player like KPL Kevin back helps. He has had some injuries, so we're anxious to get him into the mix, just not as linebackers, but on the special teams too. We're also missing Zach last week, Cunningham, getting him back in the mix. Camus Grugier-Hill has played well. So we have some guys, and we'll try to find ways to get them all into the mix to get reps to see what they can do.
Well, KPL, Kevin Pierre-Louis, not going to be playing today. He's obviously still in that practice window, but Zach Cunningham will be, and I know, Drew, you've got the rest of the inactives for today's game.
Yes, there are some surprises. Defensive lineman Charles Amenahu will not go for the Houston Texans today. Jordan Jenkins, after being a healthy scratch the last few weeks, is up. So you see some of those names there. No Brevin Jordan no Scotty Phillips. So the rookie tight end, the second-year running back who did some really nice things in August, still not going to go, even with Rex Burkhead out. So the three running backs are Johnson and Ingram, and of course Phillip Lindsay. So they're not they're going to be up, and then Moreland, Deshaun Watson, they won't go. Danny Amendola, wide receiver, we thought he was going to be active. You saw the team let go of Anthony Miller, and we had heard Danny Amendola was the guy that was going to be there on the slot or in the slot, and he's not able to go today. That hamstring, I guess, was not 100%, and that's a bummer because the guy gets open, and Davis Mills was looking forward to throwing to him and talked about that reliability. So no Danny Amendola. We did see Chris Moore get brought up from the practice squad, so he is going to be out there catching passes. And that guy, number 19, Andre Roberts, might factor in at wide receiver as well. He's specifically a return man, and those have been his main duties. But you saw him a little bit at wide out earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, certainly for the receiving core, but maybe you'll see more carries for Ingram and Johnson and Lindsay with no Scotty Phillips and no Burkhead. And for the Patriots, I mean, they have a lot of troubles there at the O-line.
Goodness gracious, yeah.
They've got their entire right and left side out. Basically, only their center is playing today, and they've had these issues all week. Their right tackle, Trent Brown, and Shaq Mason not playing. Trent Brown was placed on IR. Shaq Mason is on the inactives list, and you don't see the other two on the inactives because they're on the reserve COVID list.
It's the left side of their line,
The left side of their line. So it'll be interesting to see the mix that they do. For the Texans, obviously, Marcus Cannon going on IR. That was a little bit of a surprise because he was questionable heading into the game, but he'll have to miss 3 games. But they liked what they saw of Charlie Heck in the preseason.
And before we get into questions, we got to stick with it. This is a big deal because you hear Lovie Smith all the time talk about, well, our front seven, our guys specifically on the defensive line, they need to win their one-on-one matchups. Well, in theory, you're in a much better position to do that today. And if you can do that and affect the quarterback, come up with some turnovers because, hey, Mac Jones has turned the ball over. He's thrown 4 interceptions. He only has 4 touchdown passes as well. He's also fumbled twice. He hasn't lost those fumbles, but, his time could be coming. So get some takeaways because that's what this team, when it does well, is one of the reasons it is doing well. It gets takeaways. So this could be a key, and I think it's going to be the key matchup. If you make something happen up front, you're going to come away with a victory. If it's quiet, it doesn't look good for you.
Yeah, they had so many takeaways against Buffalo, but just were unable to recover. They forced the ball out, and it's something Lovie Smith talked about throughout the week, too. Let's get into some of your questions. People are watching from all over. Frederick from France, German Texan, Joe from the UK, and Don and friends in Illinois. Welcome in, and we'd love to get to some of your questions.
Yes.
German Texan wants to know, why is Charles Amenahu inactive? It's a great question because I don't recall seeing him on the injury report throughout the week. So it might be something that David Culley gets asked about after the game. Now, certainly with COVID, as a possibility, that I'm not saying that he has it, but you just never know right now with guys. But certainly it's something that will be asked, I'm sure, after the game.
Yeah, my guess is they probably saw something in practice that they liked more out of Jordan Jenkins than they did from Amenahu. Although I don't know why they both can't be out there. But, yeah, I imagine the answer will be something like, we thought that was in the best interest of the team. So I don't know that you're going to get a great answer for that one or a really super accurate answer on that one. You'll probably get something vague when the explanation does, in fact, come. And
I feel like something could have popped up Saturday, too. That's maybe why we didn't see it throughout the week.
Yeah,
so
perhaps.
That's something, it's a great question, something that we may get the answer to in the next coming days, but not right now. Right now, we don't have the answer for you.
Yeah.
German Texan wants to know who will start at corner today, and I think you should hang on to that question, German. I know he likes to send in questions because we're getting to our starting lineups.
Yeah, a little bit later, but it's going to be Desmond King. You'll see him again, you think, as well as Terrence Mitchell, guy you got a chance to interview earlier this week. And Joe wants to know, how are Nico Collins and Tyrod Taylor doing? Still sounds like with Nico, it's going to be a few more weeks, but with Taylor, fingers crossed, it could be this time next Sunday. He could be suiting up and playing for you, you'd think. Texans are at Indianapolis next week, but
that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be great for him to be able to come back.
My thing is, I just rewind all the way back to either after the game or the day after Cleveland. We heard David Culley say, hey, Tyrod said he could go back out there and play the second half, but we said, hold on, we're in this for the long haul with you, so we don't want to get anything seriously damaged, so we get you for this half, and then we don't have you the rest of the year. So perhaps he is back against the Colts. And if that's the case, a lot of things change with this ball club. But in short, Collins a little later, Taylor perhaps as soon as next week, DP.
Well, they both have to miss 3 games. They were
Right.
both placed on IR after that Cleveland game. So effectively today is the 3rd game. They could come back next week. I mean, once they open up that practice window and designate them off return, like they did Kaimi Fairbairn, they could be back as early as next Sunday. So it's something that we'll have to see throughout the practice week how much they're participating and if they do indeed get designated for return off of IR.
Yeah, and as we see these images of Mills right there throwing, we've seen him throw some passes to Andre Roberts quite a bit, and in each of the last 2 weeks. So last week was Buffalo, where Andre Roberts played for 2 seasons, and he was a Pro Bowler. And then this week it's the Patriots, they play the Bills 2 times per year. Both of those special teams coordinators in the week of preparation have gone out of their way to say how impressive Andre Roberts is and what he means as a special teamer. And we haven't seen that yet from him. It's been tough going for Andre Roberts, and he's coughed the ball up, notably in Cleveland. But perhaps he catches some of what he's had over the last 4 years as far as being so productive as a return guy and gets things going, because the Texans are going to need it. They're going to need the takeaways like we mentioned earlier, and they're going to need a splash play, I think, on special teams if they're going to beat this Patriots team, because Patriots have had the Texans' numbers over the years. Now, not the last 2 years, but in history, they've done very, very well, especially scheming against a rookie quarterback now.
Yeah, I mean, these 2 teams are so evenly matched as far as the rookie quarterbacks. And, I think it's going to take a big play on defense, like you mentioned earlier, on special teams, to sort of have that momentum-shifting play.
Mm-hmm.
Texans are at home, so you'd think that would help. Last week they were up in Buffalo, like awful, awful conditions. So they're back at home, and, they've got the crowd on their side. So they look to bounce back. And maybe you do see Andre Roberts mix up the game. But Brandon Cooks, I mean, he's played against these Patriots.
Yeah, he's been a Patriot.
He's been a Patriot, so he's played against the Patriots last year, and you see him really come out every single week. So I know that's one of the questions. Who are going to be our strongest offensive weapons today? I have to say Brandon Cooks and Mark Ingram. I mean, I would think those are going to be your 2 strong ones. Now, we're waiting to see the tight ends get into the mix.
Yep.
It just hasn't happened yet because Davis Mills is sort of getting caught up to speed and getting acclimated with working on his chemistry. But he's been working with Brandon Cooks before and after practice, so I feel like that's a guy that he sort of always relies on. He's probably going to try to spread the ball around a little bit more, but, you look for your veterans and Cooks and Ingram to really step up.
No doubt. And, you talk about the tight ends, and I'm glad you did, because last year against the Patriots, Pharaoh Brown really was a monster. I mean, and not the entire game, but on one play, it took about 7, 8, 9 Patriots who had a shot at him to finally bring him down, and he just punished those guys. He only had 2 catches for 22 yards, but his 18-yarder there against New England, it was part of that win last year over New England. I mean, it was one of the plays of the season if you look back and take a look at that rough season that the Texans had. He was a monster on it. Let's see some of that today, because that physicality is something that we haven't had a chance to see too much of from the tight ends through 4 games in 2021.
Yeah, we saw it in week 1 against Jacksonville, and then Farrell got banged up in that week 2 Cleveland game. So you think after a few games here, you hope to get the tight ends into the mix.
Absolutely.
Those are just more targets for you, for your offense, and for Davis Mills as well.
Indeed.
All right, let's get into we've got a one-on-one. Drew, you actually had a chance to catch up with Whitney Merciless a little bit earlier in the week.
Yeah.
And Whitney, we talk about big plays. 3 out of the last 4 games, Whitney Merciless has had a sack.
Yep.
He had one last week as well. So Whitney really turning things around for himself here in year 10. You had a chance to catch up with him. So let's take a look at that conversation with Whitney Merciless right here.
This pregame interview is powered by Reliant. We've got Whitney Merciless, defensive end. It's good to be with you, Whitney, as always. And before we get into this matchup, does it just feel weird to you? You're facing the Patriots. There is no Tom Brady, and I know you've done that before. You had Cam Newton last year, and a few years back, it was Jacoby Brissett. But doesn't this just seem odd that after all these meetings, over all these years, he's not around?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be, the talk of the town in the AFC division. But him being gone, I mean, as time passes, things change.
Yeah.
And so, it's inevitable. It's part of the league. And, and Belichick's still there. They still run some of the same things. He gets them prepared each week to do different looks, different formational sets, different plays.
Yeah.
So we just got to be tuned into that. And, for us, just stop the run on defense, take the ball away. Simple things like that.
Yeah, through 4 games, you've got 3 sacks, you've got 4 tackles for loss. You're you're doing all that. What's it been like adjusting to this Lovie Smith defense for you?
Man, it's it's challenges.
Yeah.
I would say. As far as playing inside the tight end, where you got to have like a read step versus pulling out in the 9 and stuff like that. So it's been challenging. And then also, when you get a chance to stand up, you get to see everything, see the formation, kind of get an educated guess before, and also be able to see the clock before it hits 0.
Oh yeah.
And if somebody likes to draw the clock out to about 1 or 00, the ball's coming out regardless.
Sure.
Or, it's being snapped. So it's just reading my keys that are in front of me, not seeing too much, only seeing what I need to see to go out there and go react and just go play it and make plays.
You talk about reading keys in a play, but we're going to get into Mac Jones. But what are some keys for you when you're facing a rookie quarterback, no matter who it is, whether it's Mac Jones or somebody else? Over the years, it's always been interesting hearing what you say and what you guys do and your approach to facing a rookie who's under center.
Yeah. One of the things I don't underestimate.
Of course, no.
Because some guy, like coaches, especially Belichick, will get them prepared to play.
Yeah.
A few years back when Jacoby Brissett played and, he smacked us. So, you got to give him some respect. And he's got that kid definitely working hard. And one of the things, keys, does he get rattled in the pocket? Also, does he get affected by pressure?
Yeah.
What's his composure like, essentially? How does he handle the offense? Does he manage the game well? Things like that. And also, does he give up a lot of takeaways, or does he give up the ball a lot? Like, for example, interceptions. Is he forcing that by his own hand? Can he sit in the pocket and deliver the ball? So we just look at different keys as far as how to get him off the spot, how to get into his mind and stuff like that.
All right, Whitney, well, looking at him through 4 games, what impresses you about Mac Jones?
He's got good composure. He goes out there confident each play. He runs that offense like he's being coached to do. And he understands the entire playbook. He seems very composed as far as reading defenses and stuff, and things like that. He makes solid decisions as well too. Reading his keys, going through his progressions and things of that nature. So he looks like a well-coached rookie for sure.
Shaky week in their offensive line room just based on some guys coming down with COVID or testing positive for COVID, rather, and then other injuries as well. But what does this offensive line look like? I mean, and how much does it look like offensive lines from New England of the past? Because there's been some changes there in how they operate, or haven't there?
Yeah, most definitely. In the past, what I've known, they work well together. And sometimes you might have a guy who gets might need a little bit of help on chips and things like that. Now, as far as the change-ups, we'll see. I have to see who's going to be out there. As far as what's going to be the final say on game day or whatnot. So, some guys are going to be playing some different positions where they may not be comfortable at. We'll have to, by the time we get to game day and see what the full roster looks like, we'll have an idea. But we're practicing each day as far as if we're going to go against somebody who's going to be at the left tackle, several different looks as far as different personnel, guards, centers, XYZ and all that. So they work well together. There's also they'll also have chips by the tight end and also the backs as well too, to assist them in some help, and that'll be really prevalent in this game. We really do appreciate the time. Best of luck against these Patriots, and hope you get a win. Oh yeah, appreciate it.
Whitney Merciless facing Mac Jones, the rookie, today. Whitney's certainly had a lot of experience in facing rookie quarterbacks, and he's had a lot of experience in getting sacks this year. He hopes to keep that streak going. Yeah, he's got today. 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss this year. Hasn't started the last couple games. Probably not going to start today, but maybe he's getting used a little bit more effectively, perhaps. Jacob Martin is somebody that you want to keep an eye on as far as and Jonathan Grenard as well. Those are the 2 guys that have started at defensive end, and you think you've got a little bit more of a future with them if you hold on to them, see what's going on, and see what they got. Jonathan Grenard has been impressive. First sack of his career. Came against this team last year. Now, that was Cam Newton's, a different bunch than what's going to trot out there today. But as we take a look at the running backs, you see Lindsey there to the left catching the ball, and on the right, that's Mark Ingram. Can this running game, as David Johnson catches a pass, can this running game get going? Does
Charlie Heck in there maybe change things up, because when he did play last year at the end of the season, Texans were very, very effective on the ground. Now, they lost those 2 games, but they were able to move the ball on the ground, which they hadn't done much of that season. Does that little change help spark some things and make the run game a little bit better? It needs to be, because the running backs this year have averaged about 2.6 to 2.8 yards a carry, and that's not going to cut it. I mean, you got to get a little bit, you got to get another 1.5 yards if you're going to, feature the run game like that. Otherwise, guys are going to tee off on you. You see Heck there, number 67, is now we take a look at, again, the running backs. But I just don't know what has to change, because it seems like, if you listen to John Harris, opposing safeties just kind of are flat-footed and go straight downhill when they see that there's going to be a run. They have no respect for what the Texans do in the passing games, and they have teed off on these guys all season long. They're running into 7, 8-man boxes on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's something that everyone's talked about. The O-line's talked about, the backs have talked about, Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, has talked about. And basically, what I glean from that information is everyone just really needs to get better at what they do individually. It's a collective problem. It's not any one particular group or unit. They're all trying to figure out why the run game isn't working. And if you look at the opposite side of the ball, the Patriots last week against the Bucs, they had 8 carries
Even
for
worse, yeah.
-1 yard. So I think the Patriots are also trying to figure that out today. And I think both these teams are trying to get their run game going. It'll certainly help Davis Mills in the passing game. Let's take a look at our starters. Drew mentioned the running backs. We saw them warming up a little while ago. Your starting lineup for today. Let's look at your offensive starters for today against the New England Patriots.
Yep, you got Davis Mills obviously under center, and if you have 2 running backs, it's Ingram and Johnson, and then Conley and Cook's going to be the guys catching passes along with Pharaoh Brown, and then left to right up front, Tunsil, the Pro Bowler, as well as Titus Howard, Justin Britt, Max Sharping at right guard, and Charlie Heck getting his first start of 2021. Like we said, he was there in 2020 at the end. He's got to keep that guy safe, keep that guy clean in Davis Mills. You definitely want good stuff up front for the Houston Texans on offense.
All right, well, on defense, your defensive starters on the defensive line, you've got Jacob Martin, the rookie Roy Lopez, Malik Collins, and Jonathan Bernard. Behind them, your linebackers, Kamu Grugier-Hill, Christian Kirksey, and Zach Cunningham back into the lineup after being on the reserve COVID list last week. And your cornerbacks, Desmond King II and Terrence Mitchell. Safeties, Justin Reed and Lonnie Johnson Jr. A little bit of shuffling there in the secondary. And Lovie Smith liked what he saw in that bunch last week. They want to keep it going. So Desmond King is in the mix, as well as Lonnie Johnson starting back there. So we'll see how it plays out against the Patriots today. But I did talk to Terrence Mitchell. He is really enjoying playing alongside Desmond King back there.
He sure is. And Desmond King made plays last week. I mean, they were backed up time and time again, and they really bowed up in forced field goals, 4 of them, as opposed to letting them get in the end zone. Now, eventually the dam broke, but you were holding the Bills not in check, but you were keeping it a competitive game for a while in a nasty situation. So they did a solid job, and then it got away from them like the rest of it. But you need to see more of that, and hopefully against a lesser offense, which you think the Patriots have, that can happen.
Yeah, and no turnovers. Protect the ball, because
Totally.
the defense was also playing on a very short field after those 4 turnovers.
Right.
So if the offense can protect the ball, you've got your defense in a little bit better position, and they won't be on the field. They were on the field quite a long time last week.
Yeah.
So it was an exhausting day for the Texans defense. But you're right, 4 out of 5 of those drives ended in field goals. They had a 4th down stop early in the game. But, that game, it was at 16-0 there in the third quarter.
Yep.
Should have been a lot further apart than it was, but it was your defense that kept you in the game. And today, the offense hopes to get back on track, protect the ball, get the ground game going, and get a win here against the Patriots today.
Let's get a W, DP. It's time. Texans need one. They need to get that second win of 2021, and it can happen today. I think you can take care of these guys if things break the way they need to and you play the way you should.
All right, well, it is Pink Ribbon Day, and our sponsor, Houston Methodist, wants to remind you that mammograms can save lives. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer over the course of her lifetime. So get your mammograms. To find out more, you can go to HoustonMethodist.org/pink for more information. So thank you so much for joining us today on Texans Unlimited, presented by Verizon. That's going to do it for our show. We are very close to kickoff, about 35 minutes away, so be sure to tune in on CBS, listen in on the app, also on Sports Radio.
You can watch on the app. Adam was asking.
Watch on the app. Watch on the
good
app
question,
as well.
Adam.
Yes, and thank you so much. You can check out HoustonTexans.com. We'll have all the stories the pressers, highlights, and more after the game. Thank you to everyone who worked on this show. It's quite a lot of people, and to all of you out there watching, have a great game day, and go Texans.
Rocking away on the edge of my seat. Now I'm ready